Hi, this is Ira Gorlick, and this is the lectures on the history of telecommunications and specifically on the introduction to the beginning of the internet. And when you think about the first communication, wireless communication by Marconi and by Faraday and any number of people, if that was the beginning to what has grown today to be what we lovingly call the internet. And it's grown to a network linking, and I've got here a number of 1.6 million users. The internet is known by many names: the cloud, which I'm going to talk about later, the information superhighway, hyperspace or cyberspace, the World Wide Web, which, by the way, the World Wide Web is not the internet, and the internet is not the World Wide Web, and I'll describe what that means. The internet is also described by George Bush as the internets. And then finally, Ted Stevens is a series of tubes.
The internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes.
One of the original authors or creators of the internet, Licklider, he called it a galactic network, which is very cool. So what does the internet provide for? It's a worldwide broadcasting and publishing. What we're doing now on Udemy is worldwide publishing of training materials. It's a mechanism for information dissemination. You can put information out and anybody all over the world can gather that information. And as important, more important, it'd be interesting to know whether these are rank ordered in any way, is that the internet is a way to communicate and collaborate with like-minded people. I'm going to read this because I think it's interesting and I want to get it right. The internet represents one of the most successful examples of the benefits of sustained investment and commitment to research and development of communication infrastructure between the government, industry, and academia. In other words, we talk about net neutrality. Well, the internet came about through a partnership between the government, academia, and industry. And so when I think about net neutrality, I see no reason why that partnership can't be continued. Okay, what we see about the internet is that the new models, the economic, the social, the cultural, the political models that the internet is allowing is transforming all areas of society, from politics to economics to social discourse. It changes the way businesses interact with their customers. It helps workers to be more productive. I find, for example, that I'm much more productive using the internet as tools. It helps us all interact with relatives, friends, and strangers. Facebook, I use Facebook. Recently, my daughter was living in a city with a snowstorm, and I was able to post to my family that she was okay. It helps to educate ourselves. Udemy is a great example of the power of the internet. This class is just a wonderful real-life example. And it helps us participate in social, cultural, and democratic discourse. In terms of transition from birth to today, the internet has changed. It was a research network operated by public entities, and it's changed to a commercial network operated by for-profit providers. It was a network connecting a small community of users, and now it's a vast global network. It was an academic community that trusts everyone, to now we have an open community where we know there are people on this community that intend to do other harm. These changes, and this is important, and this is where it gets at net neutrality, put huge pressures on the internet's technical foundations. So how have these changes been coped with? Well, to protect the internet against attacks, firewalls are created at the borders of private networks. And to increase profits, providers use technologies that enable them to identify and control applications and content passing through the networks, hence the need for net neutrality. This was something that was unheard of in the past, and now that these tools exist, the question is, what do we do about those tools? So to do these things, providers must violate the open design principles on which the internet was based. In other words, and this is important, and I'm going to go over in detail as to, in the few net lectures ahead to where I come. This isn't just something I made up. But the internet was based on an open design principles. In order for us to protect ourselves through firewalls and in order to increase profits, we have to violate some of the rules by which the internet was created. I want to add one more thing here in this section. If you remember in President Obama's speech, he talked about the internet being the way it was and trying to maintain the way it was. And I'm also going to post here a video by Al Franken that talks about how we want to maintain the way the internet was. Well, this slide gets to that thought process. So when people say that net neutrality is about keeping the internet the way it was, this is what they're talking about.
Ever since the internet was created, it's been organized around basic principles of openness, fairness, and freedom. There are no gatekeepers deciding which sites you get to access. There are no toll roads on the information superhighway. This set of principles, the idea of net neutrality, has unleashed the power of the internet and given innovators the chance to thrive. Abandoning these principles would threaten to end the internet as we know it.
I wanted to read you something from an op-ed that Senator Ted Cruz wrote about the issue.
Okay.
Net neutrality is Obamacare for the internet. It would put the government in charge of determining internet prices, terms of service, and what types of products and services can be delivered, leading to fewer choices, fewer opportunities, and higher prices. Government-regulated utilities invariably destroy innovation and freedom. Your reaction?
He has it completely wrong. He just doesn't understand what this issue is. We've had net neutrality the entire history of the internet. So when he says this is the Obamacare, Obamacare was a government program that fixed something, that changed things. This is about reclassifying something so it stays the same. This would keep things exactly the same that they've been.
So the net neutrality question for this class is, will the internet be destroyed as a platform for innovation, free speech, and economic growth by the commercial providers as they keep profit the focus, or by the government stepping in and imposing draconian regulations? This is the goal, the learning objective, as I want to figure this out, is how do you maintain the innovation, free speech, and economic growth of the internet, but still satisfy commercial providers and still satisfy control of the internet? This is the key question this class will try to answer. So getting to that key question is, are the proposed changes by commercial providers much needed improvements that reflect new sources of strain on the internet, meaning video, or if implemented, will we lose the very features that were central to the internet's success? This is the key question for this class. We're sort of caught that even though we have thousands of years of history on innovation and how changes in laws and norms and or prices affect the environment for innovation, and even though we have hundreds of years of telecommunications laws and regulations and how they affect the environment for innovation, we still can't figure out the best course forward. So in the next section, I am going to talk about the birth of the internet.